Welcome back into the North Star Takes podcast. I'm Bailey Policki. He's Jacob Liberta. You can find all our videos here on our YouTube channel, so please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Today, we're going to be talking Minnesota Vikings and kind of watching the Super Bowl through a Minnesota Vikings lens, if you will. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell's the offensive coordinator of the Rams, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Rams offense plays throughout this entire game. The Bengals defense isn't anything to write home about, so you think they'd have some success at least, but a lot of that comes down to Stafford too. But there's kind of some other things to watch for in this Super Bowl that doesn't directly relate to Kevin O'Connell, but more so the two head coaches on both sides. So I guess right off the bat, what are your thoughts? What's one of the main things you're looking for in this Super Bowl that can kind of relate to what the Vikings should do going forward?
Yeah, it's probably got to be the way these coaches approach all the really high leverage situations as far as going forward on fourth down, picking your spots wisely. I know we all saw Zach Taylor's blunder back in week 1 against the Vikings when they were up 2 scores, and he goes for it on fourth down from like his own 30 or 35-yard line or something. That just looked bad. But now he's probably learned a thing or two going through the season. I don't think you can just be that dumb of a coach and get to the Super Bowl. So Obviously you can ride a quarterback so far, but you still have to be a competent coach in your own right. So I think that's worth watching. And considering he used to be on McVay's staff, and he's kind of has the same background that O'Connell's going to have coming in here to Minnesota, I think that's worth watching his movements. And then McVay is obviously the at the top of the tree there, or at the foundation of the tree, I should say, really, however you want to look at it. But McVay, just innovative offensive mind. I want to see this guy's full offensive prowess on display, just because I think obviously you're going to leave no stone unturned in the Super Bowl. You're pulling all the tricks in the book and do everything it takes to win. So I think it's worth monitoring all the different looks he might show a defense, because these are the same things O'Connell could use going into next year and beyond. So I think just looking at how in a high view here, the biggest thing is just playing offense, like how these offenses operate and how much scoring we see in a big time spot there in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The high leverage situations is something Mike Zimmer clearly struggled with. He never really knew when to go for it on fourth down. He never knew when to, try and go for a touchdown rather than a field goal. And we saw it this year, especially like both offensively and defensively. The end of half situations were just atrocious. We had like the worst defense in football in the final 2 minutes, and obviously our offense can rarely score in a 2-minute drill. So I'd like to see a lot of that improve with the Vikings, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we've been watching the Rams all playoffs, and situationally they've been pretty decent. McVay's had some blunders here and there, but just to kind of see how they handle that in the biggest stage and the biggest game of the season. So I think that's going to be interesting. And just, the fact that both these coaches are from McVay is like you said, he is the tree. And then you got, Zach Taylor branching off, and Kevin O'Connell's going to branch off. And I'll be kind of curious how like Matt Stafford comes out and looks right away. Like if he's looking calm and cool and collected, and he just comes out composed and making all the throws, and he's not making stupid mistakes. Because I know him and O'Connell are pretty tight from what it sounds like, and O'Connell's really huge in getting Stafford ready throughout the week, going over the game plan with him, stuff like that. Even though he doesn't directly call the plays, it sounds like O'Connell's got a pretty big influence in that offensive room. So, I think if the offense can come out swinging and they look good, then obviously that's super encouraging. But, I think it's going to be nice that our head coach is going to have experience, being a coordinator in the Super Bowl. Like that's massive. I mean, Zimmer was, in Super Bowls with the Cowboys, but that was, years ago. So I don't know. Like, I think there could be a lot of good that can come out of this. And I guess, do you have any other thoughts on like what would be some other things to watch for here?
Yeah, adding on real quick to that really Super Bowl exposure, I think even going beyond O'Connell, going deeper into their coaching staff, like some of those guys might be Vikings assistants next year. So that's another thing to think about too. I know I've seen Wes Phillips' name float out there. I think he's the tight ends coach right now for the Rams. So, I mean, that could potentially be your next offensive coordinator. Who knows? But I think there's certainly going to be at least some of those guys that'll join the Vikings. So they've also been in the Super Bowl very recently. So that's cool. And then as far as like football goes, like on the field and the things the Rams offense does specifically, I think it's worth watching how Cooper Cup operates and how they use him in these big spots. I
Yeah.
know everybody's probably gotten a chance throughout these playoffs. Like the first thing I think of that everybody probably thinks of is that Bucks game, like in the biggest spot possible, 40 seconds left. Stafford just throws a dime down the field, do streaking Cooper Cup to set him up in field goal range for the win. Like that's just iconic. So I think I'd like to see all the different ways the Rams use Cup in this big game, and I think it's very could be very I guess emblematic of the way the Vikings may use Justin Jefferson going forward. So I think that's really exciting. And then I also want to see how the Rams really operate in the run game and
Hmm.
how quick or not they maybe abandon it when it's not working or maybe ride it when it is, or maybe how much play action they like to factor in, because I think these offenses are their offensive talent lies within probably the same spots that the Vikings does, except
Yep.
for I think their offensive line's a little bit better overall.
Yep.
But I think that's worth looking at too, and how much the go back to the situational thing. How much the Rams lean on the run game? Maybe do they run the ball in those second and long situations that we all got pissed about this past
Yeah.
season? And
Yeah.
like, is that going to be a continuing trend or not? Like, I sure hope not, but I don't think they would do that. Otherwise, I don't think they'd be in the Super Bowl. So
Yep.
I think it's worth watching even those micro things when the Rams play offense and uh, look at all the ways they try to scheme guys open and I guess oppositely, I guess the same goes for the Bengals because Zach Taylor from the McVay tree, like we keep saying. So
Hmm.
I think you could watch what their offense does and take something from it too.
For sure. And Zach Taylor, wasn't he the quarterback coach for the Rams?
He was, yep,
So he never called plays for the Rams either. And then he gets tossed into this head coaching job and he's calling plays for the Bengals. And obviously he's doing a pretty good job. He's got some creative stuff going on there that he's taken from Sean McVay. So I
yep,
really like what you had to say though about like the run game and not like Zimmer where we need to run if first down we pass and it's an incomplete, you have to run on second down. Like,
exactly.
no, you don't need to do that. And the Rams know that. And so that's all good stuff that, Kevin O'Connell can take from that too. But I mean, this game's got McVay coaching stat or coaching tree written all over it. Um, it's kind of opposite ends of the spectrum too. The Bengals got the young stud quarterback on a rookie contract. The Rams have, I'd say Stafford is definitely an above average quarterback, but he's got a big contract. He's a little older. He's more comparable to Kirk Cousins than Joe Burrow is. So it's kind of interesting to see how those two quarterbacks handle the moment. If Joe Burrow is just, purely just more talented and more skilled and more composed and shows better leadership and just takes his team over the top, then I think it's easier for a guy like Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah to look at that and be like, okay, I think that's the direction we need to go. Because if Kirk is comparable to Stafford, and we just saw Stafford, kind of shrink in that moment with how good he is and how good that Rams team is, are we sure Kirk Cousins is going to be able to do it? The lack of mobility is concerning. So I think that's a big part of it too, is the quarterbacks that are dueling in this game.
Yes, for sure. I know a lot of people can draw comparisons between Stafford and Kirk, and in ways I can definitely see it. Obviously, their numbers are pretty comparable. I think the way they play, uh, they're very pocket passing heavy quarterbacks. They're not the
Yeah.
new age ones that get out of the pocket and make plays with their legs and just improvise and things like that. But at the same time, I think Stafford is way more of a gamer, way more of a leader than Kirk will ever be. So in that regard, they are not comparable at all,
Right.
and people should not draw the similarities there. But I'm hoping if, let's say, Stafford goes out and wins the Super Bowl, I hope some sucker of a team out there thinks they can win the Super Bowl with Kirk and make a move similar to what the Rams did last year and bring him in, because I'll take anything for Kirk at this point. Just get him out of here.
You're such a hater, Liberta.
Yeah, I know. I'm done with
Um,
it.
Before this has nothing to do with the Super Bowl, but kind of as we wrap up here, it was announced that Ryan Grigson, former GM of the Colts, is
Yep.
going to come aboard Kwesi's staff in some sort of fashion. They haven't exactly said what he's going to do, but what are your thoughts on adding him? I know he was not a popular GM in Indy. There was a lot of complaints that he basically ruined Andrew Luck's career
Yep.
because he basically ignored the offensive line. So obviously he's not the head decision maker here. He's probably not even close. But what are your thoughts on bringing a guy like that in? Do you think he's had enough time away from that situation to be able to self-reflect? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think by now he would have enough time just because I don't think he's been the Colts GM since I want to say 2016. So
Yeah,
I'd hope it's been enough time. But I think he's the old school football guy that they're bringing in basically to uh, be for lack of better words, the Rick voice in the room still.
yeah,
Because obviously Quasi's a new GM. He's getting his feet wet. So I don't mind him bringing in this kind of football guy perspective here, your
right.
traditionalist, your scout. I think that's just fine, but I just hope they don't lean on him too much for these decisions because I know a lot of Colts fans and a lot of former Colts players do not have great feelings about this guy. So I'm hoping he doesn't let him have too much control, but at the same time, I think he's probably a nice voice to have in the room with a lot of experience in the NFL and really just a sounding board that can maybe offer a less analytical approach to it and really make you think about just the maybe more common sense things, hopefully. But at the same time, uh, I don't know. It's hard to know how much these assistants in the front office really do or not. Like some of
Yeah.
them might be very hands on, do a lot for the GM, but at the same time, some of them might just be there for their 2 cents every now and then. So it's really hard to say. But I guess I'm okay with it. It's not too big of a deal.
Yeah, I'm really not too worried about it because I don't think he's going to be that close to the decision making process.
Oh,
Like you said, I'm sure he'll have some sort of input and Quasi will bounce ideas off of him, but I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. And the Colts did make playoffs when he was there, so like I mean,
true.
it's not like he built horrible football teams by any means, but so I don't know. I'm just really curious how the rest of this coaching staff is going to turn out. I'm really looking forward to Kevin O'Connell officially being named the head coach, and we get to hear
Me
from
too.
him, kind of hear maybe what his vision is for the team. Because then once this coach hiring gets announced and we're getting closer to combine time here, rumors are going to start swirling. So
Yes.
we're
Real
getting,
quick,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna throw this in. Speaking of the Kevin O'Connell future presser coming once he's officially named the head coach of Minnesota Vikings, I think it's possible there could be some real tells in that press conference whether he really pounds the table for Kirk or not in that press conference, or if he kind of shies away from him. He's like, "Oh yeah, Kirk, good quarterback and whatnot." I think that's certainly something to keep in mind, and little preview there for next week when he gets in front of all the Minnesota media members.
Yeah, that's a good point. And even if he does stand on the table for Kirk, maybe like you said, maybe they're just trying to hype it up for a trade and inject some more trade value into Kirk Cousins. But
True.
yeah, that'll be interesting to see for sure. I mean, Kirk Cousins is absolutely the number one priority this offseason. You have to do something about that cap hit. So, um, but even yeah, just there's other roster decisions here too. They hired that Ed Donatel to be their defensive coordinator.
Mhm.
Um, and he's run a 3-4 defense. So it's like, well, do we have the personnel to do that? Or are we gonna have to cut some guys that maybe don't fit that scheme?
Yeah, honestly, all these guys we've interviewed for this defensive coordinator job have all come from the 3-4 background. So I feel
Yeah,
like we're going to make the switch, and that's going to be that's a whole new thing to dive into. That's going to be very fascinating to really pick apart and see what we do.
exactly. So yep, but yeah, we'll put a wrap on it for now, and obviously we'll revisit this in the coming week here as Kevin O'Connell's going to get introduced as head coach. So that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Like I said earlier, please give this video a like, and if you're new to the channel or you're a Minnesota sports fan, please hit that subscribe button. Give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram, and leave your comments below. What else are you looking for in the Super Bowl? What are you going to take away from it with Kevin O'Connell and potentially some other coaches coming aboard from this game as well? And just your thoughts on what's to come in this Vikings offseason. So until next time, thanks for watching.